We'll call the December 14, 2021 Pleasant Ridge City Commission meeting to order. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Budnick?
Here.
Commissioner Lenko?
Here.
Commissioner Perry?
Here.
Commissioner Schmier?
Here.
Mayor Scott?
Here. Well, we'll start the meeting today with a discussion about the school crossing and Nathan Rizzo recognition.
Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes, we're here today to talk briefly about crossing guard Nathan Rizzo. Nate's sitting in the back here, he's standing up. He's here with his parents, Vince and Catherine, or Kate that she likes to go by, and they've lived here in Pleasant Ridge for 20 plus years, longtime residents. Nate has worked as a crossing guard at Lower Ferndale Elementary School, formerly known as Roosevelt School, from January of 2016 to December of 2021. He just left for another job opportunity Friday, the 10th, I believe, was his last day. So just shy of 5 years. Nate was a model employee, not to call him just an employee, but he was model, always on time, always present in all the weather. The only time he may have ever missed was only because of college exams or something, where his dad would aptly fill in for him while he was gone. During his tenure, Nate has endeared himself to so many of the children, their parents, their grandparents, their siblings, whoever brought the kids to school, but also especially their dogs that would come with them to school. At the beginning of every year, Nate would ask everyone that walked by or crossed at the crossing their names. Surprisingly to me, it didn't take Nate very long to remember everyone's name, of everyone, including their pets. How he did this was amazing. He's like a savant or something. I mean, I wear a name tag, and I have a hard time remembering my own name, let alone everybody else's names. So
Cool.
I, as well as many of our officers on the day shift, would find ourselves frequently alongside Nate at the crossing, and he became friends to everybody that was there. I got to say that Nate showed great patience with many of the, if you've ever driven by there at school times, Nate showed great patience with many of the frustrated drivers that found themselves in a traffic jam. Many times he was the brunt of their anger, and they'd yell about the traffic and why he couldn't do something about it, but Nate always kept his cool. I was surprised that he did, and then that he didn't even quit. He kept coming back for 5 years. So big thank you for that, for hanging out there for the last 5 years. So over those past almost 5 years, Nate and I have developed quite the relationship. We'd spend the time in the morning waiting for the kids to cross or whatever, talking about a variety of topics, but mostly sports. Nate's very passionate about his sports and his favorite teams. I learned the hard way not to ever mention the New York Yankees or the Ohio State Buckeyes, because doing so, he's probably making a face, because doing so would bring scorn and a verbal tirade. So I'm sorry I mentioned them today. So the police, mostly myself and Sergeant Reed, have done the crossing detail the past 2 days only that Nate's been gone, and I want to say that you're already missed. I don't know how you handled it for 5 years. Part of your legacy, the children and parents have commented in the last 2 days about missing Nate and wishing him well wishes and everything else. Many of them bought him gifts and presented him with cards and stuff. Nate would go out of his way on special occasions or last days of school or whatever and hand out candy and things like that to all the kids and stuff. And he really endeared himself to everybody that was there. Nate, I will miss our daily conversations. You're missed there already, but I know that you have a friend in life with me in the police department. So congratulations on moving on in the next chapter of your life. We all wish you much success and happiness. And with that, if you want to come up here next to me for a minute. On behalf of the city and the police department, the mayor and the commissioners, we'd like to present you with a small token of our appreciation with this plaque commemorating your service as the crossing guard for the last 5 years. Thank you very much. Do you want to say anything?
I'll keep this brief. I know you got a lot scheduled right now, but I just want to say thank you to all of you at the City of Pleasant Ridge for this job opportunity. Thank you to Chief Kevin, to all the police officers for making the job so bearable and so easy, especially with a street like that. I want to thank all the parents of Pleasant Ridge and of Ferndale who are always so down to earth and always a pleasure to talk to, and also to their kids who are always so well behaved. I'm gonna miss this job. I'm always gonna remember always the positives and also the negatives, but there's always gonna be positives and negatives with jobs, but mostly the positives. And I look forward to my next career in employment, and I just want to say thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add, as a parent who Nate crossed my kids for 4 years at the crosswalk, it was always a comfort knowing that he was going to be there every day,
That's great.
taking his job seriously, and so yeah, we really did appreciate you, Nate. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That's cool. Well, the next item on our agenda is a thrilling one about audits. We could have a conversation about audits. They'll come up and give our presentation.
I have to live up to that intro.
That's right.
All right. My name is Aaron Stevens. I'm a partner with Maynard Custerison. And so tonight I have an audit presentation, and I did not duplicate the financial statements. They're not included in here, but I do have some charts and graphs that I'd like to share with you. First, our thanks to the city administration and staff, as well as the team from Plant Moran, for all of their help. We know we're a disruption to the normal work week, and we appreciate all the help that they provided while we were here in the field. I plan to highlight what I think are the key areas, but if you have questions, feel free to stop me at any time and we can go through those. So the bound financial statement report does include an independent auditor's report on pages 1 and 2. And I always like to remind the audience that the purpose or the objective of an audit is to express opinions on the financial statements as to whether or not they're fairly presented. The purpose of an audit is not to detect fraud or to give you an opinion on your internal controls. If we do detect fraud or if we have recommendations on how to improve internal control, we will communicate that to you in the form of a written report on internal control. But the independent auditor's report that you see on the slide here, pages 1 and 2, I've included a few paragraphs from that independent auditor's report. And
Am I at the right spot?
can you go back to slide 3?
Okay.
No? Right there.
There we go.
We'll start there. Yep. So management's, sorry, mine's 3. That's 5. But management's responsibility. This is the second paragraph on page 1 of the independent auditor's report. And we highlight that management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. And that does include the internal controls over that preparation and fair presentation. The next slide, we have the third paragraph from page 1, and we state that our responsibility is to express opinions on the financial statements based on our audit. On the next slide, the opinions are provided on page 2 in the first paragraph. And here it reads, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. That is what we refer to as an unmodified opinion. It is the highest level of assurance that we can provide for a set of financial statements, and that's what you want to see as a commission. All right, so then the governmental funds financial statements are presented on pages 11 and 13. And governmental fund financial statements are prepared on the modified accrual basis of accounting, which means they have a current financial resources focus. This slide that you see in front of you focuses on the general fund primarily as the operating fund for the city. And the balance sheet is on page 11 of your financial statements and is a snapshot as of June 30th, 2021 of your governmental fund assets, liabilities, and fund balances, or equity. And again, focusing on the general fund, the total fund balance or total equity of the general fund as of June 30th, 2021 was $1.7 million. That could potentially be broken down into 5 classifications. You, here at the City of Pleasant Ridge, only have fund balance in the non-spendable and unassigned portions or classifications. So all of your unassigned fund balance would be unrestricted. And that's for your use in the future. You can use it on whatever you like to. The unrestricted fund balance is about $1.7 million. And I compare that with your expenditures and other financing uses. Expenditures of $2.8 million transfers out to other funds of $50,000. When you divide that out, 59%. Your unrestricted fund balance represents approximately 59% of your annual expenditures. And that equates to more than 7 months of operations. The GFOA, or the Government Finance Officers Association, recommends that you maintain a minimum fund balance in your general fund that is equal to 2 months of normal operations, or about 17%. So your general fund is in very sound financial condition. And as you'll see here on this slide, just a few highlights from the general fund. Total revenues of $3.3 million. That was actually an increase of about 6.5% over the 2020 revenues, primarily due to CARES Act funding that the city received to get you hopefully through the pandemic, even though we're not quite through with it. But you did get CARES Act money that you hadn't received in the past. Total expenditures decreased $900 from the previous year, and that was due to conservative budgeting. You went into shutdown, your expenditures decreased, you had planned for that. The net result was that you added to your fund balance $477,323 for the general fund. The next slide, a 5-year bar graph of your general fund revenues, expenditures, and fund balance. As you can see, revenues exceeded expenditures in each of the past 5 years. And again, ending 2021 in sound financial condition. As far as the composition of your general fund revenues, your property taxes make up 72% of your total revenue. And that is followed by intergovernmental, which would include federal, state, and any local intergovernmental revenue at 13%, which is fairly consistent with the 2020 composition. Expenditure side, public safety at 51%, general government at 24%, public works at 12%. Again, fairly consistent with the composition that we saw in 2020. There's a line graph that shows you the unrestricted or unassigned fund balance compared to expenditures and other financing uses over the past 5 years. Again, a healthy upward trend ranging from 22% in 2017 up to 59% in 2021. And this slide shows you that same information just in terms of dollars instead of percentages. The blue line representing actual unassigned fund balance, and the minimum recommended fund balance is at 17%, that brownish red line. So with that, I again just highlighted the operating fund for the city, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? I think so.
I think we're okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Your Honor.
Yes, please.
Your Honor, I move the audit
Thank you.
and the audit of the city's financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021 be received and filed.
May I have a second?
Second.
We have a call?
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmier?
Yes.
Commissioner Budnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Mayor Scott?
Yes. I almost forgot the important part. All right, well, we'll move on to public discussion for anything that people might have to discuss that was not on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I received an email correspondence about 6 minutes ago
Mm.
from a resident, Thomas Hendrickson, 53 Woodward Heights.
Okay.
And it's, the comment is as follows. My comment does not in any way refer to the two new city commissioners, Katie and Alex. In the spring of 2018, cut-through traffic and illegal trucks increased on Woodward Heights by over 1,200 vehicles per day. This was due to Ferndale giving 9 Mile Road a road diet, along with the traffic backups at the northbound Woodward and 10 Mile traffic light, and the popularity of traffic apps. Since 2018, Woodward Heights has been a cut-through street. It has been called the new 9 Mile. This has brought dangerous accidents where people have been rushed away by ambulance, road rage incidents, car chases, illegal passing, constant noise, air pollution, disrespectful aggressive drivers, pedestrian vehicle conflicts, and over 40 illegal trucks per day. The Institute for Transportation Engineers states that a residential street gets under 300 vehicles per day is considered an excellent street. A street that gets under 600 vehicles per day is considered good. A street with under 1,200 vehicles per day is acceptable, and a street with over 1,200 vehicles per day is poor. They say no residential street should receive over 1,200 vehicles per day. Woodward Heights receives over 3,600 cut-through vehicles per day, including over 40 illegal trucks per day. Woodward Heights is the equivalent of 3 poor streets. The city has known about this problem since the spring of 2018, but they have refused to act. Under the leadership of former Mayor Kurt Metzger, traffic on Woodward Heights increased by over 1,200 vehicles per day. When he asked the city for help, the city said it had no intention of reducing traffic on Woodward Heights. Over the last 4 years, we have fought with the city over their lack of empathy and refusal to act to keep our neighborhood livable and safe. The city has consistently refused to consider reducing the cut-through traffic. Their only goal is to slow traffic by 2.5 miles an hour. The city uses misleading and erroneous excuses to put out-of-town cut-through drivers above Woodward Heights residents. This past spring, we told the city that we were going to start a petition that would force the city to take action to stop the cut-through traffic and illegal trucks. 2 residents and I went door to door with a petition. Less than half of the residents were home. Over 90% of the residents we spoke to signed the petition. We had planned to continue knocking on doors, but with COVID increasing, I decided to ask the city if they required us to continue going door to door, or if the over 90% signature rate would be adequate since it showed a clear and obvious trend. On August 19th, 2021, I sent the partial petition to the city manager along with this email. And I quote, "We spoke with 25 residents. Only 3 eligible residents did not sign the cul-de-sac petition. 1 resident who did not sign told us he would sign it if it came down to needing 1 vote. 2 residents we spoke to were renters who want the cul-de-sac, but being renters, they were not eligible to sign. We have 20 signatures out of 23 eligible residents, so it's obvious the residents of Woodward Heights want the cul-de-sac. With the pandemic surging again, we do not feel it's safe or responsible to knock on doors. Please let us know if the supplied petitions are enough or if you're going to force us to knock on more doors during the pandemic," end quote. The city manager wrote back, quote, "The city commission will consider this request at the September 14th, 2021 meeting," end quote. At the September 14th meeting, the city lied to the public by representing the partial petition as a complete petition that did not get enough signatures. Brett Scott said the petition only got 1/4 of the residents' signatures. He did not mention that it was a partial petition. The city did not inform the public that I sent them a partial petition asking if we needed to continue going door to door during the increase in COVID, or if the partial petition with over 90% signature rate would suffice. The city's lie that we sent them a complete petition that did not get enough signatures was then believed and repeated by Pleasant Ridge residents on Facebook, and it was believed and repeated by the press. The Pleasant Ridge city government's lack of transparency and lack of empathy has been shocking and unacceptable. We need a city government that cares about our neighborhood and cares about the truth. I ask that the city manager, the mayor, and the commission involved admit that they lied about the petition and issue an apology. I also ask that they contact the press and issue a partial correction, a printed correction. Signed, Tom Hendrickson. That's it.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Hendrickson, for submitting your email. We are taking action. There are things that we have in place to continue addressing the issue on Woodward Heights. I think there might be a disagreement on the correct course of action. You have a particular method or course of action that you'd like to see, and others may like to see as well. We're putting together some work to understand what the full residents would like to see on your street and what the full residents of Pleasant Ridge would like to see on your street. So of course, you'll see more as more is developed.
And
Yes.
I would disagree with many of the things that Tom said, including the fact that we're not doing anything, because the city commission at that September meeting approved releasing an RFP or to get qualifications for firms to do a study for Woodward Heights to identify solutions. Those have been received, and we need to get those to the selection committee to go through and identify a consultant that's going to work with us to see if there's anything we can do. Because traffic calming and traffic elimination are two very different things.
Exactly.
Characterizing 40 trucks a day as all being illegal is also, we don't know how many of those are illegal trucks, because every Amazon or UPS truck that drives by making a delivery in Pleasant Ridge counts as a large vehicle. But if it's delivering to an address in Pleasant Ridge, it's not an illegal truck. So, yes, traffic issues on Woodward Heights are frustrating, and the city commission did take positive action to address that petition. The action you took was in response to the petition. So whether or not you want to characterize it as complete or not, the city commission acted on it.
Exactly.
Our traffic calming manual has a requirement of 50% of residents of the street have to positively request something. They achieved, I believe, 25 or 26% of the residents on the street, but yet the city commission acted on that request. So I'll just offer some facts.
Sure. The residents of Pleasant Ridge the residents of Woodward Heights have been heard. And interestingly enough, we've heard differing views on Woodward Heights from different residents. And so that's why we're taking the action that we're taking to get the voice of the full street and of all of the residents in Pleasant Ridge to find a good resolution to the things that we see on Woodward Heights. So you've been heard, and again, I do appreciate the email that you've sent. Is there any other items not on the agenda? Onward to government reports.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's nice to be here. It's nice to see so many people here with us. It was a fairly busy November in Pleasant Ridge, mostly EMS calls. One fire alarm, one wires down call, and car MVA on 696. So as we go into this season, I just want to remind people again, our furnaces are on probably all the time now. Make sure they're properly serviced, clean your filters. Has smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors in your house. And we do, in the fire department, we do offer home, because we are Pleasant Ridge's fire department, so this goes for this community also. We do offer free home safety inspections. And you can get to that by our website. So you go to a website for residents of our communities that we serve. You can schedule a car seat installation, and this is not just for a brand new baby you're bringing home from the hospital, but if anybody's child's transition from one car seat to the next, you can schedule an appointment. We have people that went through the training, get certified. They can help make sure it's installed properly. We want to keep all of our children in our community safe, but we will come into your home and walk through your home. Outside of just a generic fire safety talk, we can come in and really help educate you about your specific home. So it's a wonderful opportunity. The other thing with this time of year is if you have live Christmas trees, please make sure you're watering them so they don't get too dry. And as much as I love driving around looking at all the Christmas lights, make sure you're not overloading your circuits. That last outlet on the power strip is not for another power strip. I'm gonna say it. We want to come visit your house for cookies and see your beautiful lights, not because it's on fire. But with that, I think that's the big part of our report. And I do think I did a short notice request, and I appreciate city manager getting the information back to me very quickly. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any
Anybody have
questions?
anything for me?
And
So Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, please.
Go ahead.
I know
So-
Ann's got something. for me.
Yeah, so you were saying, we go to the website. What is your web address?
So right now, if you just go to Ferndale's city webpage and then go to departments, go to the fire department,
Okay,
it's the
great.
best way to get to it. And you'll have the links to schedule for car safety inspection or put in a request and the home safety inspection.
Great.
So you'll fill out the form and somebody will contact you. If you have any issues finding it or you need help, if you call our main fire department, my admin assistant is wonderful. He'll walk you right through it and help you with that.
Great. Thank
So,
you.
Any other questions?
No, I was going to say, my wife and I might take you up on, we have a bet regarding the safety inspection for car seats. We go back and forth about this. So
Yes.
we have a bet to settle. We're both going to
We'd be
show up
happy to help you with that.
ready to go.
So you just let us know.
No, that's a great service.
It is, and we just want to. I think it's great. Not everybody can offer it because it's a 40-hour class. I think it's 40 hours that they go through to get certified to do car seat installations. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's very in
That is
depth
great.
what they go through. So.
Right.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we have one more.
Chief number 2. Hard to follow that act. Again, good evening, everybody. We too, as Chief Robinson stated, they had a busy November. We had an extremely busy November. I've been here 15 years. Sergeant Reed's been here 21 years, and we both agreed that this past November was probably one of the busiest months ever that we've seen. In that combined 30, what was it now? I said 21 and 15, 36 years. Catholic school math. See how good I am? We had a variety of crimes, some violent, some not violent, property crimes, stolen cars, and unfortunately the incident on Thanksgiving evening with the homicide that occurred here. I was gone, as I usually am, some of November. Being a deer hunter, I was gone. In my absence, Sergeant Reed is always in charge. So I'm going to defer to him, and he's going to fill you in a little bit on what occurred here in November briefly, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Is it permissible to take the mask off during this or no? If not, not a big deal.
I think you have to leave it on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I was with you all on November 9th for the last meeting, and I said that crime was down, things were great. Some people say that I jinxed us. I may have. So I'm going to run you through some events that transpired over the past month. On that Saturday after last meeting, we got a call from one of the residents saying that someone was in their driveway at like 1:30 in the morning. When Officer Waters arrived on scene, he wound up finding people stealing cars, going through cars. 2 vehicles were stolen that evening. Both of those vehicles were unlocked with the key fob in the car. We kind of harp on that. Lock your doors. This was totally preventable. Officer Waters wound up pursuing one of those vehicles because he did find it in progress. Vehicle wound up crashing over in Oak Park. We did retrieve that vehicle. Unfortunately, the bad guy got away that evening. We are still waiting for the second car to be recovered. It's been a long time. We usually recover them quick. We have not recovered this one yet. The next morning, we found out exactly, well, what we believe how many cars they went through. Some residents don't call when things have gone through, but we had double digits of vehicles that were gone through that were unlocked. November 21st, officers reported to a home on a report of a sexual assault. Luckily, didn't happen in our city. It was someone that came into our city that had been assaulted. The proper jurisdiction was contacted on that, but not something that we are normally dealing with on a daily basis. The big one that I'm sure you're aware of, Thanksgiving evening, so November 25th, Officer Nagy was working, got a call of a crash northbound Woodward underneath 696. They also said possible shots fired. When that happened, Royal Oak Police started responding. Other agencies started responding around us. Officer Nagy got there, saw a vehicle that was crashed with doors open, went up to the driver. Driver was unresponsive. Officer Nagy pulled the person out of the car, started life-saving measures, started CPR. What Officer Nagy did not know is that the passenger had shot that driver in the head before he arrived there. Passenger got out on foot, started walking or running northbound on Woodward, and started shooting at passing vehicles. He had already shot at 2 vehicles before Officer Nagy arrived. As Officer Nagy's doing CPR on her, he hears more shots fired. So not only is he trying to attend to a medical situation, but now he's caught in the middle of an active shooter situation. Royal Oak Police responded, got vehicle stopped, got him in custody, but we had a crime scene that spanned 1.5 miles. We had one car that woman was shot and she didn't stop until she got to Catalpa. Medical services got there and got her up to Beaumont and she's okay. She did have gunshot wound, but between Royal Oak, us, we called in the Sheriff's Department to assist. Every agency around assisted, Berkeley, Huntington Woods, Ferndale. But that incident actually started in Pleasant Ridge. She was killed in Pleasant Ridge. The car crashed. It came actually to a rest half in Pleasant Ridge, half in Royal Oak. So all those agencies assisted. Sheriff's Department was fantastic. That was our first murder since 1997 in the city. So it was before I got here. But the suspect was charged. He was charged with 1 count of open murder, 5 counts of assault with intent to commit murder for the vehicles that he shot at while he was out on foot, and then 6 charges of felony firearm. I just want to thank all those agencies around because we couldn't have done it without their help. It was a great showing by all the agencies around us, and everything worked out well. The last thing that I'll talk about was on December 2nd, Officer Waters responded to Sunoco on the report of a possible domestic assault. When he got there, he found a woman on the ground with a male standing over him. What he didn't know was what we found out from the security footage later. It was an all-out brawl from the parking lot into Sunoco. Punches, kicks to the head. It was a very, very brutal assault. Officer Waters took that male part outside to talk to him. When he did, that male reached back, grabbed a knife, and we don't know exactly what he was going to try and do, if he was going to try and stab Officer Waters. At one point he put the knife to himself, but Officer Waters turned into Jason Bourne and got him disarmed, got him on the ground, and we got him up to Beaumont for observation. We're currently seeking charges on him. We say it every month, even though crime went up this month, we're going to say it again. Lock the doors to your houses, to your cars, to any property, garages. Very, very rarely do we get things broken into that are locked. It's usually unlocked property that people are going into to steal things. With that, if you have any questions, I can definitely try to answer them. No? All right. I'll turn it back over to the chief. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for keeping us up to date.
I know.
I wanted Sergeant Reed to come up and explain a lot of the stuff because he's also, besides working the road and everything else, he handles all the cases, all the detective work that goes into that and everything else. So anytime there's a crime, he does all the follow-up, he sends the warrant request, he makes sure everybody gets charged right, processed at the court, everything, follow-up, everything. So he has a lot on his plate, and he had a lot on his plate in November. We get up here all the time, a lot I know I have in the last 15 years that I've been here, and said, oh, it's, crime's down and everything's well and stuff like that. And it's not to say that we don't have crime, but we have a limited amount of crime, not that other cities see. One, I think because of our size and then the geography too. The underpass creates this great event that people drive through and go, oh, that looked kind of nice there. I wonder where I was or I missed it, So a lot of people do stay out. Part of the other instance is we've had residents say, I always see a police car on Woodward Avenue sitting there. That car on Woodward Avenue prevents a lot of crime. It's like the freeway. Woodward Avenue is a major thoroughfare. It's a pipeline from Detroit all the way north to where it ends in Pontiac or so, or continues north. People use that. When they see that police car sitting there, they know, I might not want to do crime and stuff there. Because these things are events that are planned out. Criminals are professionals. They look for targets of opportunity and everything else. So this month's been busy. We do get busy. We're not immune to it. We do our best to patrol and everything else. Having said that, it's the holiday season. Packages on your porch. Other cities are seeing it. Crews follow them, FedEx trucks, UPS trucks, and everybody else out of the warehouse and watch them do it and then steal the packages right off the porch. So that's a big thing that we watch. So you can have your packages delivered to the rear. A lot of those, they offer those services. Have your neighbors grab them, do whatever. You get alerts on your phone, you see the package, call your neighbor or call somebody and, they'll pick it up for you. So having said that, we want everybody to have a safe holiday season. No plug. I got to remove that extra plug from the outlet strip. Didn't think about that one. But anything you need, we're here 24/7. Call us. If it doesn't look right, call. We'd rather come out and check it out and be nothing rather than be surprised or have something bad happen. Okay?
Thank you very
Having
much.
said that, have everybody have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that.
Too.
Yes.
And be safe out
Thanks
there.
for all
Thank
the
you.
support that you give the whole community, and give a shout out for us to all of our neighboring police that I know help us when we need it.
We will. We're small. We help them whenever we can, but we will need their help more than they'll really ever need ours. But we're always out there for them too. No questions? Good.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Are there any other items for governmental reports? Oh, yeah, sure.
Hey everybody,
Hey,
my name's Charlie Cavell. I'm the county commissioner for the 18th district, soon to be 19th district, which will include Pleasant Ridge. So hi everybody. I often go around to city councils as often as I can. I know you'll have 2 meetings a month, so I'll try and make it to 1. So I can either give you an update tonight or just give you and everyone else my number and start that in January, whatever you want, Mayor.
Oh, it's usually once a month, so
Okay.
whichever you prefer.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll give you a quick and dirty update.
Sure.
And fill in the blanks later. Okay. So first, it's good to hear that the sheriff's office is getting its due credit. Appreciate that because they make up 60% of the county budget. So just to talk more, the county, what we did in our last board meeting of the year is we started a mental health treatment court. We are using, and it actually launched today, and I was proud to be the champion of this, a child care scholarship program for people seeking continuing education or like leveling up in their career, and also people that are unemployed. So that scholarship is available for 1,000 families in Oakland County, $1,200 per family up to, and that's matching funds. So that's a big deal. Also, we have, just to think, because Oakland County is the entity that's running the public health response to the COVID pandemic, just to give a quick update there, and I'll try and do that every month when I come to the meetings. Shouldn't have said that. When I come to the meetings. Yes.
You're on the record.
Yeah. Here I go doing it. But so context, as you've all been saying and alluding to, July 5th, Oakland County had 9 cases on the rolling average by 7-day rolling average. This week, Oakland County had 836 cases on the 7-day rolling average, so we are in the midst of our 4th wave. Silver lining there is Oakland County today just opened up 16 and up booster shots. So if you're 16 years or older, those booster shots can be had for free at any place run by OakGov or affiliated with it. And that's the quick update. Would love to answer any questions and also give out my number to anyone listening, if that's okay.
Sure.
Cool. So my number is 248-807-4347. And I will say it's a county phone that's an iPhone. I'm an Android person, so I don't know how to set up the message. So if you call and I don't pick up, just text.
We can help
Because
you
I'm
with
a
that.
millennial. I'll text you back. Okay. Any questions?
No, please.
Thank you.
So are you our representative now, or when does that take
Yeah,
place?
so I actually don't know if there's like an official date, but I know that for the past decade it's been Gary McGillivray. So the lines have been drawn and approved, so I guess sort of. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, we'll call
I'm trying
you.
to be,
You can
yeah.
check. You can check
Please
on
call.
that. We'll call
Yeah. I live down the street, so it's
Excellent.
fine. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Cool. Anything for recreation, or are we all set?
I have a report.
Would we like to do reports now? I think, sure, yeah, let's.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I have 3.
Perfect.
I'm gonna light it up today. All right. Let's start with the December rec happenings, and thank you, Shawnee and Greg. I appreciate it. Number 1, Gleaners virtual food drive, December 1st through the 18th. Sign up link is coming soon. We are hosting a virtual food drive to help raise money and fight hunger in our community. This holiday season, let's as a community come together to support our fellow Metro Detroiters. Every dollar will provide 3 meals to someone in need. Let's beat our total of $2,000 from 2020. Next, 50 and up club day trip to Meadowbrook Hall, tour and lunch on Thursday, December 16th at 10:15 a.m. Lunch at Finnegan's on Oakland's campus following the tour. Seats are limited, so don't delay. Register today. And for those that haven't been to Meadowbrook, it's awesome. 88,000 square feet, 4th largest historical home in the U.S. And it's just, they decorate it to the nines for Christmas. So it's a really, really extravagant and neat experience if you've never been. Letters to Santa, due Friday, December 17th. And this is open to PR residents only. Hi, kids. Every year, Santa looks forward to hearing from his friends in PR. Mailboxes will be located at the community center and City Hall to receive your letters. Include your name and address on the letter so that Santa can write back. Get wishing. Next, gingerbread house making. There's only 1 spot left, so that's a hot one. Wednesday, December 22nd, 10:30 a.m. Cost is $15. Join us for a festive morning learning how to make your very own gingerbread house. Every participant gets to keep their decorated house at the end. With holiday tunes playing and hot cocoa flowing, spread the holiday spirit by inviting friends to join you for this special event. And wrapping up here, New Year's resolution friends. Get to know your PR Wellness Center. Open 5 a.m. to midnight. I don't know who would want to work out at 5 a.m. 7 days a week, including weekends and holidays. Stop at the front desk during open hours to get your key fob. You must be a PR resident and at least 16 years of age. Wellness Center key fob replacement is $10. A picture ID is required for all new and replacement key fobs. And it's crazy to think this, but PR Piranha's swim team information. Registration is from January 4th through March 4th for swimmers ages 6 to 18. And yoga and Zumba classes begin the first week of January. Register online or in person now. And last, the January through March edition of the Ridger, online before then, will be in mailboxes at the end of December. Please watch for deadlines for spring soccer, youth baseball, and the swim team. And the Ridger is packed. I have a preliminary copy here. And it was crazy. I noticed, looking for a summer job, like Shawnee and Greg are already recruiting for 2027 swim team lifeguards. They are on top of it. So this is awesome. This will be out shortly. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Shall I keep going?
Sure.
Okay. Let's go to Ferndale Schools, and this will be Commissioner Lenko next time, but this is my last go at it. A lot of information from Ava, the student rep, this time. Ferndale won their 10th state title for marching band, which was awesome. Very cool. After-school tutoring has started. It's students tutoring other students.
Ooh, cool.
Yes. Student Council planned a canned food drive as well. Their goal is 1,200 cans. I think that was actually a couple weeks ago. Senior class took their class photo already, which is crazy to think. That's already moving along. NHS did their induction ceremony as well. And finally, there was a cool, kind of warm story, and I shared one, I believe, last meeting or the meeting before. There's a bus driver for Ferndale Schools, Douglas Milton, goes by Dougie. He has been an employee for 28 years, and all 5 kids went through Ferndale Schools. And so typically as a bus driver, you go to an event, you grab a cup of coffee and just kind of hang tight in the bus. He noticed that the folks running the concessions were short-staffed, so he checked in, helped with the concessions while he was hanging out, helped him get through that, and I thought that was just a cool little story of folks helping out in the community. So thanks to Dougie, and thought that was a cool story.
That is cool.
And he was named Eagle of the Month because of that. So, and last for Ferndale Schools, some numbers for those that like data. Numbers for Ferndale Lower. We have a total of 479 students. 171 are K through first, and that's young fives, and then 133 in first grade, and then 176. There's a big class in second grade. That's actually 7 classes comprise that. And I'm sorry, last, Ferndale Schools just did their yearly audit, unmodified as well, which is, as we just learned from our accountant who snuck out.
He did.
I wonder why. So yeah, everything's looking good there.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'll add a quick shout out to the 6th and 8th graders that taught me freight and logistics for the last 2 months in our robotics teams. I don't know that I would have known anything about freight and logistics in the 6th grade, but they do. They made some two phenomenal robots. We took them to championships on Saturday, and the teams did really well. We had a little connection issue towards the end that prevented running to the Michigan finals, but the robots did well. The kids were phenomenal. I mean, it was just a really good experience. And if you have kids that are creative or just looking for an outlet, I would recommend the First Robotics program. If you're a parent or anyone an adult living in Pleasant Ridge, it's a good program to mentor. I got a lot out of it, so it's just a great program. Good program.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And how young does that program start? Because it's in the elementary school.
Yes,
as
they
well.
have Lego leagues as well that start, I believe, in the 4th grade.
Wow.
And then they have a high school team that's gearing up as well. So there's opportunity for kids of just about any grade.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And last, library board report by Mary and Stacy. Happy holidays, everybody. At the recent meeting of the Huntington Woods Library Advisory Board, longtime library director Ann Hage announced that she will be retiring in January and that the city is conducting a search as we speak for a new director. So we will, as in Stacy and Mary, will update PR once we know more. And we salute and wish Ann all the best going forward in this new chapter. The Friends of the Huntington Woods Library are currently accepting donations of books. So bring your donations directly to the library. This month's adult online book discussion takes place on Monday, December 20th at 7:30, featuring the selection Countdown 1945 by Chris Wallace. The ever-popular film discussion series
Sorry.
with Dr.
Not
Tara
hungry.
Hayes will take place online as well on Wednesday, December 22nd at 6:30 p.m. This month's film is Once Upon a Time in the West from 1968, directed by Sergio Leone. Please view the film on your own before joining the discussion group. To sign up for events or to find any more information about the library programs or services, go to the Huntington Woods Library page.
Very cool.
That's all my reports.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
I'll just add a quick note for the Historical Commission. A great thanks to them for putting together, other members of the community for putting together the town scene that you can see in the Historical Museum. They had it available for folks that were at the tree lighting on the 6th.
And tonight.
And tonight.
And tonight.
They were.
And tonight.
Yeah.
If anyone would like to see it, it's still set up. Just reach out to me and I'll figure out a way to get in and we can show that to your kids or to you. It's really a beautiful thing.
Very cool.
Can I add one thing to historic too?
Sure.
I reached out. So, 100-year-old homes this year can buy their tiles.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need a list, it's going to be in the Ridger. You can also reach out to the city to see if your house is 100 years old.
Very cool. The mayor.
Yes.
The Planning Commission and DDA will be meeting on Monday. Well, we will be considering if they're going to be meeting on Monday, January 24th at 7 p.m. right here at
That's
City
right.
Hall.
It's
Thank you.
we have to approve the agenda for next year's meeting, and so that's an item to come. Are there any other? Okay, great. I think we've made our way to the consent agenda. Yes, the next item up is for the consent agenda. May I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Mayor, I move that the consent agenda be approved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any comments on the consent agenda? I'll just note that, as I mentioned a moment ago, we'll approve as part of the consent agenda all of the meetings for the commissions. There's also an interesting item on taking care of the property around Mapleville. There were some chunks of property that were not part of the owner's property, so we've taken care of that so that that property is folded into the ownership of that. And that's probably the two big things. All right.
Mr. Mayor, just one point, I think city manager did clarify, so the tax base of those individuals is not going up, it would be on the subsequent homeowner, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
All right. May I have a vote?
Commissioner Butler?
Yes.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmier?
Yes.
Mayor Scott?
Yes. The item is passed. And now we'll move on to the block grant program for 2022, and we'll have a public hearing. Some comments, Jim?
No, it's fairly pro forma. We have a very small programmatic block grant allocated to us through Oakland County. We are not an entitlement community. We don't get a direct allocation. It's $7,000, and this is typically used for recreation programs to serve our senior community.
Has it gone up just a little bit? Maybe it used to be 5 or something?
Yeah, it goes up a little bit. It's just
Yeah.
a percentage basis of the overall
Right.
the county gets.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's maybe $1,000 higher than it was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So extra bus trips.
Sure. May I have a motion?
Your Honor, I move the Oakland County Community,
Point of order.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
We need to hold a public hearing.
Oh, thank you.
sorry.
Sorry, I will get used to this. I would like to open the floor for a public hearing on this item.
You have to gavel it.
Do I have to hit the gavel? Seeing no comments, I will close the public hearing.
Okay.
And now, may I have a motion? Thank you.
Your Honor, I move the Oakland County Community Development Block Grants, CDBG, Program Year 2022 application, including the programming of $7,000 to the Public Services Senior Services line item and subrecipient agreement be approved and that the mayor be authorized to sign the agreement.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any comments? May we have a vote?
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Commissioner Butler?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmier?
Yes.
Mayor Scott?
Yes. The motion is approved. All right, the next item up is we've received an application from a company called Sozo on a marijuana license to be located on the property we know as Iron Ridge, so we'll have some conversation about that.
We have a representative from the applicant available to us if there's any specific questions you may have about this. The city adopted in last summer a ordinance to allow for marijuana facilities. This was done partly in response to the fact that there was a lot of referendum ballot questions being circulated in other similar communities. So we decided it would be better to adopt our own rules rather than having rules potentially forced upon us. That allowed for 2 licenses for retailers / provisioning centers. This applicant is applying for a retailer and provisioning center license. A provisioning center is licensed under the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act of 2008, and a retailer is licensed under the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act of 2018. A retailer is adult recreational use, and provisioning center is medical marijuana. The applicant, Sozo, currently operates a large facility in Warren, and they also have retail locations in Sheboygan and Muskegon. We have 2 retailer / provisioning center licenses available, meaning that there would be 1 more available if this license is granted. The applicant has provided a full and complete application package. All information and documents required by the city's marijuana licensing ordinance have been provided. The application meets and in most cases exceeds all the exceeds all the requirements of the city's commercial marijuana facilities ordinance. There's an executive summary version of the application attached in the agenda packet that is available for public review. And there's also a checklist of application requirements included in there as well. They've met all the requirements for city licensure. Sergeant Reed did an extensive background check on the operation and on the owner. and identified no concerning information. So we have no reason to be concerned about the application. I'll take you through a few notable items from their application. They're proposed to be located in Iron Ridge. It's the old E-Prize building. If you're familiar with it over there, it's on the other side of the train tracks. And this is the tower building. This is the entrance that they're proposing, their lobby area, and this is at the very southern end of the old E-Prize building. This was E-Prize's main entrance. So you can see we've got the railroad tracks, and then you've got 696. You come in from Bermuda, and then this is that large parking field in front of the building. This would be the space that they are occupying. This is the actual tower itself right here. In terms of floor plan, you can see the lobby area and then a retail floor area. Again, and this was one of the entrance areas for E-Prize. These are mood boards that they had submitted to give you an idea of just of the look and feel. This really isn't related to the application or anything about why we would approve it, but I thought it was interesting to see kind of the design intent that they have for their facility. So I know that was a fairly quick presentation. I'd be happy to answer any other questions you have, but in terms of the location, Iron Ridge has always been the natural location that we thought would work well for one of these because all of the potential offsite impacts you see from this type of use, parking, traffic, are well handled by the size of the Iron Ridge site, the fact that there's a large parking field there, the fact that it's accessed directly off the service drive and Bermuda. It's probably the ideal location within Pleasant Ridge for this type of facility. So we only received the one application. One of the requirements was you have to show that you have proof of ownership of a facility or that you have a lease agreement with the property owner. So we believe that Iron Ridge has blessed Sozo with a lease agreement to locate there. So they've been through some multiple checkpoints on their journey to be with us tonight. Christy Kelly from Sozo is here. I don't know if you want to say anything at this point or if you want to wait for questions, but I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, and I'd agree. The application was very nice. It was very thorough. There were really no questions left to answer in my mind.
Thank you, Mayor.
Have I been, Mr. Reed, or excuse me, Mr. Need, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, I saw him. Okay. With that, I suggest we, is there a motion on the table?
Your Honor, I move the City of Pleasant Ridge award a marijuana retailer and provisioning center license to Sozo Health Incorporated, Inc.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. Any comments or questions?
No, I mean, my only comment was I did read the packet thoroughly, and I thought it was well put together, and I appreciated the attention, to traffic and to security and to lighting and things like that. That certainly I was interested in making sure that it was well encompassing and well thought out. So yeah.
Then I have a sort of just a general question. You have a few other, that with the other facilities that you have in Warren and Sheboygan and Muskegon, with your experiences from those locations around Michigan, what are some of the things that you guys have learned there that you'll be incorporating in this Pleasant Ridge location?
May I speak,
yes,
or do I
please.
need to be acknowledged? Okay. Well, hello, everybody. It's so very nice to meet all of you here tonight. So to answer your question, Commissioner, in Sheboygan and Muskegon, what we've recognized is that there are some very unique localized community needs that come with each location that we open up. And it's not just evidenced here in Michigan, it's very much evident in other marijuana retail locations that I've opened in other states throughout the country. And so we pay a lot of attention to that when we get into our development process. We listen to the community. We often solicit input from the community. In this case, the developer has done so much of the work in terms of engaging and developing a vision. And so we spent a lot of time really understanding what that vision was as a part of the process. And then we listen to also what the communities are looking for. So where are the communities investing money what are the things that communities are considering. Even like looking at the way that the application is constructed gives us signals into what people are most worried about. Is it about the security? Is it parking? This is a community that is nestled in between a lot of other high population communities. And so a lot of the earlier discussion about traffic is something that we pay a lot of attention to. And we really feel like in this site, there's an abundance of opportunity to get to know each other better. But there's also a perfectly situated site. It's got access to all of the major thoroughfares that we would want to see in an ideal location. It's got a fully insulated site without intrusion from other places. We have a full physical barrier by way of the railroad tracks behind us, and then a physical barrier that rings us from the front by virtue of the actual construction of the Iron Ridge development. And so if you're thinking about security and you're thinking about safety and you're thinking about community interests and the impacts of residential homes that are right, on the other side of Bermuda, those are the kinds of things that we like to pay attention to as well. And we feel that this site, we couldn't agree with you more that this is a wonderful site from that perspective. We also like the history of the building. There's, a wonderful story to be told about the history of the building. We try to pay attention to the places that we move into, and we try to figure out how we can build that story into our retail experience. So for example, in our Warren site, it was an abandoned tank manufacturing facility, and so there's a little bit of a story there. In our Sheboygan site, we were actually at what used to be the favorite KFC right by the boat dock. And so everyone shared these amazing stories with us when we moved in about how when they were little, that's where they would stop on their way out to the water. And so we listened to all of that and sort of weave it into, okay, where do we fit into the community? So we don't have a formula. It's very custom. We are, a small but mighty company, and we are excited to find other places that are equally small and mighty, and so we look forward to figuring that out together.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Other questions?
I think we're good with questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, with that, I think we'll have a vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carries. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we will move on to the Citizens Advisory Committee and the facilitator selection. Would someone like to make a motion?
What? Yes. Does anyone have his name? I'm sorry.
James.
It's right in there.
But
is it in here?
Yes.
Oh, it is.
Yep.
You're right. Thank you. Your Honor, I move
there we go.
James Vetrano be selected as the facilitator for the 2021 Citizens Advisory Committee at the rate of, I'm sorry, what is, I'm sorry, we didn't fill it in.
$130 an hour.
Okay, $130 an hour.
Do we have a second for that motion? Motion.
I second.
Thank you. Any conversation about it? I'll make a quick comment. We did have two candidates that sort of rose to the top of several that were under consideration. We had a good conversation with both of them, and both are actually quite qualified. It just turns out that one seemed to maybe a bit more than the other, and we're very happy with the choice.
Mm-hmm.
No, Mayor, you said it perfectly. Yeah, I felt great about both candidates, and I'm excited to move this forward. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
All right, maybe have a vote.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Scheer?
Yes.
Commissioner Budnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Mayor Scott?
Yes. The motion carries. Sorry. Oh, no problem. And the last item, infrastructure bill communication.
Yes. We wanted to place this before the city commission for review and approval before we distribute this out publicly. As you know, the infrastructure bill was somewhat recently passed, and that is a significant amount of money that will be flowing out from the federal government to various locations. The most probably notable and meaningful for us is for water infrastructure. So the communication runs through what that means for the city and what we are doing and what we expect and maybe what we can hope for. So I will just kind of quickly give some of the high points here of where we're at. The infrastructure bill, you see, huge numbers with lots of zeros when it's talked about. There's many kinds of infrastructure that are included in the bill. There's $284 billion for transportation, $73 billion for energy, $65 billion for broadband, $55 billion for water, and so on. And these are big numbers, but you have to remember that this was a transportation authorization bill to which a bunch of other stuff was tacked on. So $284 billion for transportation sounds like a lot, but the baseline was actually, I think, like $240 billion that they were already spending on transportation. So in some sense, this isn't, $1 trillion of brand new spending. In a lot of cases, it's, this year's authorization with increases from what was being spent before. So regardless of all that, the $55 billion for water is important for us. There are no direct funding lines to local government. Through some of the CARES Act and ARPA, there were direct distributions to local governments. We got money through the state, but we had a formula amount of money we received. In the last spring, when they passed ARPA, we received about $260,000 from that, which is going entirely now towards our lead service line detailed materials analysis that we have to do for the state, which is probably going to cost about $280,000. So that's nice. It took care of that cost that we had to do by state mandate anyways. But there is no similar allocation through the infrastructure bill. The state of Michigan expects to receive about $1.3 billion for water infrastructure over the course of 5 years. That's about $260 million a year. And that flows largely to the state drinking water revolving loan fund, which then will take applications from communities in Michigan, and then they will make their awards to communities for funding. And it is a loan fund. It is a revolving loan fund. So typically there is some part of an award that is either a grant or forgivable principal, and then the remainder is a loan that you have to pay back. So we don't know how that will shake out with this extra funding that the state is receiving, if there will be increased grants, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But it's important to note that in federal and state law, including the Transportation Act, which is the infrastructure bill, there's a priority for disadvantaged communities or communities that have been disproportionately impacted. And those are two things that I think are important to put some meaning around, because they both have meaning under federal law. The cutoff for disadvantaged community status is, in the state of Michigan, is a median household income of $68,400, and there's a formula for how you get there. Pleasant Ridge has a median annual income of about $122,000, so we are not a disadvantaged community. Yes, we have a higher percentage of lead service lines than most, but we are also not a disproportionately impacted community. Those are typically poor and minority communities as used in state and federal law. So we are in an unfortunate situation, but we don't qualify as disproportionately impacted or disadvantaged under federal and state law. So the final decision, again, on funding rests largely with the state. We know the governor's directed state agencies to expedite planning for how this money will be spent. The legislature also has to take their part to authorize it. So it really is too soon to say how anything definitive about how this may benefit Pleasant Ridge. But what are we doing now? So we're going to aggressively pursue the infrastructure funding through the state drinking water revolving loan fund. We're going to apply for funding sufficient to complete the entire job, and then we'll go from there. Once you apply to the state, then they start to process your application and work with you. So we're going to ask for all of it, and we'll see what happens next, and then we'll adjust from there. So one of the limitations is, why don't we bond for this project and complete it all at once? And the limitation is that by state law in our charter, we can only issue about $18 million of bonds because we're capped. So we can't issue bonds sufficient enough to complete the entire water infrastructure project. The Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund may allow us to do that, depending on how they structure the offer to us that I hope we get, with principal forgiveness, grants, and then the loan money. If we can complete the project using the loan fund award all at once or over the course of 5 years or whatever we come to at the state, we will do that. If the state offers us only loan funding, we'll have to assess what that means and, what that means for our budget amounts and, how that impacts getting the project done. We're also pursuing direct federal funding. We worked with Congressman Levin's office this last summer. We submitted a project for community project funding consideration. This is the return of what's sort of commonly referred to as earmarks. The federal government, Congress, has not done that since, I think, 2009 or 2010. This year they brought that back to allow congressmen to win money for their districts. There were over 3 dozen projects that were submitted to Congressman Levin's office. We were one of 10 that they chose to move forward to the appropriations committees. The House passed and awarded our project. I think of the 10, 9 were funded by the federal government. But that's been sitting in the Senate now for 3 or 4 months, waiting for action. So we remain hopeful that it'll eventually happen. And if it does, that was submitted for the Kensington Water Main project. So if that money comes through, then we will have some money to fund about a third to a half of the Kensington Water Main, not a half, about a third of the Kensington Water Main project. Which is good because water usage is down this year and we're already below our budgeted amounts for the water fund. So we're proceeding with our plan to replace water mains and lead service lines as mandated by the state. Kensington is proceeding. We will continue to adjust the plan as we can, depending on how these other funding sources play out. So those are the highlights. In the packet, there are some links to the full infrastructure bill text, and some summaries have been prepared by the MML and SEMCOG. There's also some links to state drinking water revolving loan fund intended use plan, which identifies who they awarded their awards to. Of note in that is I think 38 of 53 projects were issued to disadvantaged communities. And no communities in Oakland or Macomb County received funding through that this year. So it's a highly competitive process that we hope with more funding will be manageable. So I think those are the highlights. And we have the full version, which we can release on the website. We also have a distilled version, which is in the January Ridger. So I hope you approve this. That'll be going out to every house, available on the website. We can even e-blast it out.
That'd be great.
Cool.
Any questions?
None from me. Actually, let's make a motion first.
Mayor, I move the water infrastructure project update communication be approved for distribution.
Could I have a second?
Support.
All right. Any comments or questions?
Anybody else? No, I've got a couple. As far as the sequencing, so appreciate you clarifying that because I did notice it was already pushed, so that helps better understand. So it's not an exact one-for-one that's on the website at the moment on the Ridger.
No.
Okay. All right. So a couple just points in reading through this. The first I would ask to include an update on the delay from the state. I know previously back in early part of last year, we asked for, I think it's a 25-year project, and we asked for an additional 5 years. And this is still pending, right? So whether there's just kind of like a place, like as far as outlining what this document is into the future, that would be a useful thing to keep our finger on that pulse. Is that an intelligible request? Does that make sense?
So yeah, the state said you have to replace all your lead service lines in 20 years unless you have a high lead result exceeding the limits, and then you have to replace 7% every year instead of 5%. So do the math. I don't know what that is. Every 16 years to replace all of your lead service lines. We did submit an asset management plan that requested a 30-year schedule to do these projects because of the cost involved for us, and their answer was ask again later because they don't have a process to approve anything for that. So we don't have an answer about whether or not they're going to approve a 30-year window for us.
Okay, what's the process for asking them again? Is it just like some Outlook reminder in July to send them a note, or?
No, they know very well that what we've asked for. They've approved our asset management plan. As soon as they have that process available, we're on their radar. But ultimately, if they they're gonna. I don't know how they're even tracking lead service line replacements yet. They haven't announced that.
Wow.
So they've mandated a lot of things, and they haven't figured out a lot of things.
Gotcha. And I understand we're at the mercy of their decision-making process, but I wanted to keep awareness and eyeballs on that, because that does change the nature of the project if we have more time or less time.
For sure.
Thank you. So that's number one, update on the state delay. So that would be a request to add some comment. And then I appreciate all the work that's been done and that you're working on. I do, because it's no easy task. But I'd like to better understand aggressive, and can we put some parameters around what aggressive looks like? I know some communities are hiring lobbyists. This could be like the squeakier our wheel is, the more likely we'll get attention. So, I do appreciate that we're going to go in for the full amount. That's great. Applying for funds for the full project. But like once we submit that application, is there somebody who can like knock on doors in our, like if it costs $100,000 to hire a lobbyist to get, $10 million, that investment's worth it? Like, are we considering things like this?
I don't think we'd take anything off the table. Ultimately, that's a decision for the city commission, but I think we need to know more information about, how the state is going to award this money before we do that. If it's a discretionary pot of money, then that's one thing. If it's through if Eagle is doing it through their existing drinking water revolving loan fund process, which is the intent of the federal bill, then it's unclear how much lobbying we need other than getting our state legislators on our side to advocate for our behalf. It'll depend how that rolls out, I think, would be my answer to that. And so I don't know that I would take anything off the table at this point, but
And I guess going back to my original point, like, can aggressive be defined in some more tangible way?
I guess what I would suggest is that if we'd like it, we could have a workshop around it, and because ultimately it would be our decision
Okay.
to
Right on.
what the word aggressive might mean, and so we could schedule a workshop.
All right. Well, this is the point to discuss this communication before it was presented. So that's why I'm bringing these points now in the sausage making factory back there. So I get it. Cool. Okay. So those are kind of the two. And then the third one is really just a semantics thing. And I know language and words matter, but bifurcating the mains and the lead service line, like it's still combined in a sentence structure that implies that the mains are part of the state mandate. And I would just suggest maybe separating those concepts. Now I've lost it, but by more space in the sentence and maybe comma or something. Where is that? Page 2, third point. So we are proceeding with our plan to replace water mains and lead service lines as mandated by the state. Maybe just reorder those words to replace lead service lines as mandated by the state and water mains as, as prudent by project management or something. Like, I don't want to wordsmith this right here, but I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying? To
Which
further
point
remove
was
those
it?
two
I'm sorry.
concepts.
Which point was it?
Page 2,
Page
third point.
2, third point. Yeah. What are we doing now under the third point, and what are we doing now? It says we are proceeding with our plan to replace water mains and lead service lines as mandated by the state. The state's only mandated the lead service line aspect of it. So just out of like, and it might be pedantic, and I'm sorry if I'm being pedantic, but I just want to be accurate with our language.
All right, as written, it is correct, but I understand that it could be. So, no problem.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, thanks.
you'll need to amend your motion.
Yes, we would. Let's see.
And that's it for me, just those 3 points. The state delay, define aggressive, and bifurcate.
I don't know that we can define aggressive to a level of
We
specificity
can take
that
it
would
off and
suffice.
workshop it.
Yeah,
but-
I would say it makes more sense to do that later, only because I have no idea what I would mean by aggressive.
Totally. Or maybe in the next, if this is going to be a regular feature, like maybe just in future updates, like, you know, we've contacted 3 lobbyists and something like that. I'm just pulling this out of the air right now. But
Yes.
like, we'll define what I mean, okay, cool.
Okay, so we need an amendment to the motion because the language as in the, that as exists in the packet is no longer the same language. So, let's see. Before we do that, let me think what it might be.
Do we need to specifically?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
One moment, please. Do you have a proposal for the language, or would you like us to create it?
No, I had the idea. I'm not wordsmithing right now. I
We
got-
have-
Oh, then I'm close.
We have to wordsmith now, so, as it is your idea.
I mean, I can take a stab at it. So unless Katie, were you going to say
No,
something?
no, no. I'm writing it.
Almost there.
Oh, maybe.
If it's just the one sentence, I can say what it should be. But, I mean, we are proceeding with our plan to replace lead service lines as mandated by the state and water mains at the same time.
What about state mandated lead service lines and the additional water mains?
Sure.
I would say, actually switch the order, so I would say lead service lines as mandated by the state and water mains, comma.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I would do. Is that okay?
Nice
All
to
right,
get-
we need a amendment, which I
Okay.
think you could just add
It just
to.
flew. It's
If
at the last.
Commissioner Perry is willing to accept the amendment, and then Commissioner Budnick agrees, you can move forward.
Okay, do you accept the,
I accept the amendment.
okay. Then we're ready for a vote, I think.
Commissioner Budnick, do you accept the amendment?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Perry?
Yes.
Commissioner Budnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Lenko?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmier?
Yes.
Mayor Scott?
Yes. Okay, the motion carries. On to the city manager report.
Nothing tonight.
Nothing? Not a holiday greeting? Nothing? All right. Any other business?
I'm reported out.
Yes, you are.
Your Honor, I have other business.
Yes, please.
Just want to announce that we do have some openings on junior commissions. Applications are available online and in City Hall if you're interested in serving on the Historical Commission, Planning Commission. I don't think Recreation Commission has an opening, but I do have an opening on the Board of Review also. So if someone is interested in that, please feel free to give us a call or shoot me an email. We'll get you an application. Appointments will be sometime next year for those openings. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Sure. With that, I think we're all set for the evening. Just wanted to wish everybody a happy holiday season and get all 18 strands of lights on your Christmas tree or whatever tree you put up, but not plugged in the wrong way. That's what we've heard tonight. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Happy holidays, and motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Sorry,
All right.
I froze. I don't know.
Alex second.
Awesome. All right. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was.